Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals, entrepreneurs, and business owners publish to inform their consumers, grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. We're doing a series of spotlights on remarkable experts. In this particular case, this series is on elder law and estate planning. And joining me on this segment, based in Orlando, Florida, is Shawn Smith. He's an attorney with the law offices of Shawn R.H. Smith. Shawn, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you, Mark, so much for having me. Good to be here today.
Shawn, I know that elder law is a broad topic. So kindly tell us a little bit about your focus within that spectrum and the types of clients that you help.
Oh, thank you so very much. Specifically, elder law deals with our senior citizens, our members of the elderly population. We focus on areas of the law that impact their lives. Some of the things that we often deal with are typically wills, estates, trust, preparing individuals for when they pass and how they want to transfer their assets to their loved ones. Another area that we deal with is probate and also guardianship. Many times there are individuals who lose capacity in their old age and they cannot make decisions. So we have to go through a court process called guardianship in order to have someone make decisions on their behalf. So essentially, that's kind of what we focus on, and that's what we deal with.
I was really eager to get this topic and shed more light onto it. Do you find that there is a lack of awareness and knowledge in this area? And also, when people reach out to you, do you feel like they've been underinformed, or what are the biggest challenges they face?
Definitely. One of the scary things that people face is how to plan for their end of life stages. And a lot of times people are afraid that, well, if I put a plan together, maybe that's going to make my death more imminent. One of the things that I find most of often as far as lack of education is people believe that if I have a will, that's pretty much all that I need and that I'm taken care of. And a lot of times it's not a priority on their list. So when they do have a will, it's inadequate and it doesn't cover the things that they need. And oftentimes, if we would just sit down and have a conversation about it, we could put a plan into place that will make not only them happy, but also their loved ones happy when they get to their end stages of life.
You know, as you mentioned, the old will and testament, that seems to be like almost old school thinking now with a lot of folks. What are some of the dangers people face in what the will and testament kind of lack in covering?
The biggest issue with just having a will is oftentimes it still calls for them to go to court through a process called probate in order to transfer their assets. Their assets meaning their bank accounts, their assets meaning their home, their assets meaning some of the property that they may have, will still have to go through a lengthy and costly process of probate in order to transfer their assets to their loved ones. And a lot of times, if they would just put a plan into place beforehand, typically what we recommend is a trust, they can avoid all those nasty hassles and costly expenses to go through the probate court.
What are some of the, biggest questions on people's minds when they first come to see you? What are the most common and big questions they ask you about this process?
Well, the biggest question that they have is they don't know what they don't know. And so they're basically, listen, I'm an open canvas. Tell me what it is that I need to know. But of course, like I mentioned before, the biggest misconception is, well, I have a will, so therefore I'm taken care of. Everything's in place. So that's the biggest fallacy that we have to overcome, is saying, hey, listen, no, you do have a will, but oftentimes in your situation, there's more that needs to be done. And a lot of times it's the terminology. A lot of times it's the language that oftentimes we as lawyers use that gets people afraid. They're scared. They don't know the process and they feel that it's too complicated for them to even to step into. So what we try to do is make it easy. We try to make it understandable. We try to make it simple. Listen, if you tell us what your plan is, we can outline that plan in a legal way to make sure what you want gets done, and it gets done when you need it to get done.
For folks who now have awareness that they need to take care of this, and it's not an end of life thing, and and their superstition isn't like my death is imminent if I'm planning this stuff now. So what are the first steps to get started if they don't even know where to start? Is there a step by step? Is there a one size fits all solution? Tell us a little bit about the process.
The first thing you would want to do is to have a conversation either with your spouse or your loved one. what do you want to see happen if you pass away? What are the assets that you have? Do you have a home? What's in your bank accounts? A 401k, a life insurance policy? Talk about those things, and if you have one in place, and how do you want to see those things transferred to your loved ones? In terms of long-term care planning, there are many ways to pay for long-term care planning. And you may not know all the answers, but I would have a conversation with, or a free consultation with an attorney or someone advised in that area. Say, listen, what are some of the ways that I can prepare for planning for long-term care? What are the different options available for me? So the first thing is just to be willing to have that conversation and know kind of what are the things that you want to happen, and someone can help you outline those things. But of course, the hardest thing is just to have the conversation.
Shawn, what inspired you to focus on elder law and estate planning? I know the elder law is a relatively sort of new evolution of it. How'd you
Yeah.
get started?
Excellent question. It's something that's come recently to me. I started off in the areas of litigation as a prosecutor, as a defense attorney. But as I noticed loved ones in my own family getting to an elderly age, I had a great aunt who was involved in a car accident, who had PTSD, and we had to take care of her affairs. Most recently, I had a situation with my dad who got sick and was in the hospital. My mother-in-law passed away as well. And in looking at these things and having personal situations that, come right to my doorstep, and having to answer the difficult questions, it made me see how important this area of law is, and practically how helpful I can be to people, not only in my family, but those in my community who are elderly, and who, if you just answer the question for them, it will make their life so much better. But to answer your question more specifically, I've had personal experience in this area, which has come to me to say, listen, we need to be more helpful with our individuals in the elderly community.
Before I ask you my last question, Shawn, is there anything that I didn't think to ask as it relates to elder law and estate planning that you feel is important to share with my audience?
Man, well, I think we've covered a lot, and I'm just going to go ahead and touch on it again. I think the difficult thing for people is to have the conversation. My wife and I, who also works as a case manager and assists elderly people as well, we've realized that yes, there's a lot of knowledge that we have, but more importantly, people do not make it a priority, and they don't make it a part of their conversation. Something is always more important than establishing their estate plan. It may be a vacation, it may be purchasing a car, but ultimately, when that health scare happens and impacts their life, now they try to put things into place. Somebody has a stroke, somebody has a heart attack, somebody has a hospital stay, and they're trying to put these plans into place. And my advice is to have the plan now, because ultimately these things are going to happen. And it's just best that you have a plan in place. One of the things that my mother taught me growing up is, if you fail to plan, plan to fail. And unfortunately, I've seen that a lot where people have failed to plan.
Sage advice for sure. Shawn, for listeners out there that are that could be in Orlando or in the areas of Florida that you serve, that are now aware that they need some help, how can they find you, learn more, and connect with you?
Oh, thank you so very much. A couple ways. Number one is the old fashioned way. You can, of course, give our office a call at the number of 321-295-7801. 321-295-7801. We are also online, of course, like all businesses, and our website is www.shawnrhsmithlaw.net, and I'll spell that out as www.shawnrhsmithlaw.net. And also, we have a podcast called Law Matters. If you want more information about it, you can look up our podcast. Again, my name is Attorney Shawn Smith with Law Matters, and we also provide helpful information in regards to that area. We service the entire Florida community, and we also have contacts with our association with the American Academy of Estate Plan Attorneys throughout the country. So even if you're in another state or location, you can give us a call, and we have contacts in your area which can help you out with the same information that we provide as well.
You've been terrific. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to share with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients, Shawn.
Thank you so very much, Mark, and thank you for making this an issue and bringing it to the attention of our community.
Shawn Smith, attorney and founder of the law offices of Shawn R.H. Smith, based in Orlando, Florida. This segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals, entrepreneurs, and business owners publish to inform their consumers, grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.